So I just had a show yesterday. I showed up at the gig, unloaded all my stuff, and realized I left my mixer at home. And it wasn't like it was just a local show or anything like that. Actually, it was 2.5 hours away from home. I had to figure out what I was going to do and how I was going to keep performing. So it gave me the idea of, hey, maybe it's time to do a video about portable, small, backup gear for musicians. You could also just remember to pack your mixer next time. Another reason why I wanted to make this video is because gear malfunctions all the time. I know we've all been there where something, our pedal board breaks, our amp goes bad, a speaker stops working for whatever reason. These are all pieces of gear that I have as a backup. Luckily, I had a lot of this for this show, and I was able to pull off the show. It would have been a lot better if I had the mixer. I was still able to get paid, people still had a good time, and we made it work. So I'm gonna go over what I did, and then second, I'm gonna give you some suggestions of gear that I have constantly with me in my gear bag. I do personally always recommend that you have some sort of backup case or bag or something like that. Even if it's just extra stuff in a guitar case, it's definitely very valuable to have. That's enough of the intro. Don't forget to subscribe if you're not already subscribed, and let's go ahead and get started. I was performing solo covers. It's usually guitar, vocals, and then I have multi-track out backing tracks that I use with stage tracks. I realized, well, my EV system has 3 inputs. I can do guitar, vocals, and then the backing tracks. Now, the thing is that I play to a click track, so I needed to figure out a way to have a click track just go to my in-ear monitors. So this was the solution that I came up with. So for my wireless vocals and my wireless guitar, I use the Shure SLX-D dual system. Yes, even when I play solo, I go wireless because that's how much I hate cables underneath me. So that was pretty simple because I have the 2 XLR cables that come out the back, and that just went into input 1 for my vocals and input 2 for the guitar. Couldn't do any EQ adjustments or effects. That's what I had to do, and it worked well. Now for the backing tracks, normally I do multi-track outputs to my mixer so I can process drums and bass and tracks and stuff like that differently. However, Stage Tracks has a really cool feature where you can just route the audio where you want to. So I just routed it. All the tracks would route to the left and all the click and cues would route to the right. And I use this wireless adapter here that is a stereo adapter. And I use this to send a stereo signal with the left and right separate. And I have a video going over that if you're interested in how to do that yourself. So that went over here. And of course I had this cable ready just in case if for some reason it didn't work. But that went into this dual direct box here. Now what's great about this is that this dual direct box has a through port. So right here, I was able to route the tracks using this 1/4 inch to 3.5 millimeter cable because input 3 either accepts RCA or 3.5 millimeter. I didn't have an RCA cable. So my tracks went into number 3 on the back. So it was vocals, guitar, and tracks. Now for the click track, I used my portable Sennheiser system. I do have a video going over my portable Sennheiser in-ear monitor system if you are interested. So basically what I did, instead of getting a full mix plus click and cues and all of that in my ears, I was just getting a click because I didn't have any other way to route this. But at least I could hear the click and stay on with the backing track and kind of listen to the speakers to hear my vocals. And that's what I ended up doing. I didn't actually know this, but someone was there filming me and they posted it on YouTube actually the next day. And here's how it sounded.
Hey, long black, tears on the river, push on the shore, but don't mean much. Sugar on Jack, Jack's on the fire, gold on ice is a dead man's touch.
Guitar was probably a little too hot, but hey, I pulled it off and it worked. So was it perfect? No, I definitely wish that I had a way to do EQ and compression and stuff like that on my vocals, especially. If you're doing covers, most people just kind of want to hear a song that they're familiar with. They're not going to be like, well, the 1K was a little bright, but I like that song. So now that you know what happened at my show, here are my gear recommendations of backup gear that's worth having with you basically at all times. Obviously, microphones and cables should be a big part of that. Those should be kind of obvious, and I'll link those down below as well. But these are kind of a little bit more different items that you might not have thought of. I'm going to try to leave these as small and portable as possible because you can't just bring, a second large full mixer or a second large in-ear monitor rack case or something like that. All of the items that I talk about will be linked down below if you decide that some of these are right for you. So when I say cables, I don't mean just XLR and instrument cables. For example, if you use a cable like this to run backing tracks, for example, make sure you always have a spare for these. I always have at least 2 of these on me just in case one of them breaks. As far as microphones, obviously having a spare Shure SM58 or 57 can be very helpful. However, if you do want to save money, this is the one that I have as the backup. It's the Behringer Ultra Voice. Sound isn't as good as the SM58. The SM58 is about $100. The Behringer is like $30 and it comes with a case. Next up are these adapters. I can't tell you how many of these I have just to convert XLR to quarter inch. Now you do have to make sure to not send a line level input into a mic level input or vice versa. If you're not familiar with what that means, I have a video going over that, but these can be extremely helpful of converting XLR, either male or female, into quarter inch, either male or female. So I have 2 of these at least with me at all times. And of course, don't forget the quarter inch to 3.5 millimeter and vice versa adapters as well, the ones that you'll lose if you ever let someone borrow these. But these are very, very valuable to have. Do just make sure that you're checking. Remember if it's a TRS or a TS to make sure you know which one you need in the right situations. It's good to have both. There are also 3.5 millimeter to quarter inch cables as well, which I used at my show where I forgot my mixer. Next up is this little passive 3-channel XLR mixer. This thing is great. You have 3 different inputs for XLR. You can adjust the levels for them, and they all come out this port right here. The only thing is that it seems like this one has been discontinued. So I did find this one that is also passive, and it has a quarter inch out as well, XLR or quarter inch out, and it is passive. And then there is also this one by Rolls that is active and it requires power. So if you do use one of the passive ones, just keep in mind you're going to have some sound reduction, but very nice to have just a passive combiner. And speaking of, there's also this one, the MyVolts mixer. I actually had a dedicated video on this one, but this is either 1 in and 5 out or 5 in and 1 out. Now, obviously this is 3.5 millimeter, but you could combine multiple inputs and send them out the output. Again, if you're in a situation where I was, where I only have 3 inputs and I have to figure out how to get as much stuff as I can into those inputs, this is a very handy way to do that. Next up, if you're using in-ear monitors and you have a router that you all connect to in order to mix your in-ears, if your router goes bad, you've got this little guy. This is a tiny portable Wi-Fi router. It works great. I've used this before. The more people that you connect to it, the more it'll slow down. But I mean, it's the size of my hand. Very easy to just leave in a gig bag as a spare if you need it, if your main router dies. Also, if you use a tablet live, and you have one of the clips that attaches to your microphone stand, you can either get a second one like this. This is one of the cheapest ones and kind of one of the smallest ones that I've seen. And it works. It is a little bit bigger. So the other option that you have is you also have an iPhone or phone clip. So I always have my backing tracks and my charts if I need them for a show on both my tablet and my phone just in case. So this is a good backup option if for some reason your iPad holder breaks. I actually had mine taken out of my suitcase from the TSA when we flew down to Cancun for a show, and luckily I had this as a backup. Next one should be a little obvious, but some sort of multi-tool just to fix anything that might possibly break. I actually had to use this to get an in-ear monitor tip out of my drummer's ears one time. That was a lot of fun. But any sort of multi-tool is definitely very helpful. Next up, you do want to think about power. So if you use anything that is powered with an IEC cable, having 1 or 2 of these as a spare is definitely not a bad idea. However, for other 9 volts, 12 volts, 15 volt gear, the ones that I recommend are by MyVolts. So they have one called a Step Up, and they also have one called the Ripcord. I've reviewed both on my channel. The newer Step Up is a way to power your gear with USB-C, and with the Ripcord, it's with USB-A. Both of them are definitely very valuable, and they have different ones for different polarities, different voltage, and stuff like that. If you are interested in this, check out both of my videos on it. But I always have these with me as a backup in case if someone forgot their power or something goes wrong with their power supply. Next up, if you use in-ear monitors, if something goes wrong, you always have this option of a wired in-ear monitor solution. This is my favorite one. It's by F-Zone. So you have an XLR or quarter-inch input down here at the bottom. Your headphones plug in here at the top, and you adjust the volume of how much you need. It has a clip that attaches to your belt just like a normal in-ear monitor system. If your wireless system dies, at least you have a way to still hear yourself. On the more expensive end, not that these are pricey by any means, but these are my backup options that I have for a wireless in-ear monitor system. There's the one by NuX, and there's also the one by X-Vive. This isn't the case. They actually actually have a specific case on it. This is just a different one that I bought. But these are very tiny and portable. So here's the transmitter and here's the receiver. I always have at least one of these on me. Actually, the day that I'm filming this, I'm going to a gig later this afternoon, and I'm bringing the X5 with me for another musician to use, and the new X1 is the spare. I do have a video on both of these products as well. Both of them are great. The new X1 has a really cool design where the transmitter and the receiver are right here, super tiny, and then the case will actually charge the in-ears while they're in there. I have literally let 5 different musicians borrow this device now. We even did a show down in Dominican Republic at the Hard Rock down there. I got to play on a stage on a pool. That was the first time that I've ever done that. But our other guitar player forgot his in-ears, and this was my backup. But both of these are great backup options. Of course, earbuds, even if you have nice custom molds, just a nice cheap in-ear monitor system. These ones by CCA are dual drivers for like 20 bucks. They do also have a 6-driver one for about 50 bucks. Both of those are great, even if you just need them as a backup. This dual direct box by Art Audio is what saved the show for me. It's not very expensive for a dual one, especially compared to the more high-end radial ones. But the thing that's great about this is you have the input and then the through ports. So that's how I was able to go into that 3.5 millimeter input on my EV speaker. I do also have a video going over when and why you might want to use a direct box. So if you're not familiar with when to use a direct box or why, check out that video. But this is 2 direct boxes in one for quite affordable price. Also, this is a mic stand that is the smallest mic stand that I've ever seen, the Air Turn Go stand. And you can see when it collapses down, it's only about 18 inches. How many times has a screw been stripped or something happens to your mic stand and it breaks down a lot? So you have 3 different spots here where you can extend it out. And even here at the legs, it has a spot for you to extend it out as well. So it's very, very compact. And also it does have an optional boom as well if you need that. For guitar and bass and other instrument players out there, I do have a backup wireless. Yes, a backup wireless. This is the one that I like, the Swift Audio one. I also do have a video on this. My nice Shure or my nice Sennheiser system has not failed me, but just in case, or if I need to let another musician borrow a wireless, this is the one that I have. However, as a backup rig, what happens if your amp breaks or if your amp modeler breaks? This is what I always have with me. These are by Moore. You have the Moore P1 and you also have the Moore P2. These devices are extremely tiny. You program all of your patches in an app that connects to it. So everything is saved into these devices. Your guitar goes in here and then it goes out to front of house, out the out port. Extremely simple to use, very portable. I've gigged with these. The thing that's nice about the new P2 is that it does have a touch screen, which can be very helpful. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit more expensive. I do have videos on both of these if you are interested. And the thing that's also great about these is that you can control them with this wireless Bluetooth pedal. So you can change your patches using this pedal. But these 2 are always with me just in case if something goes wrong. I also had to lend this to a musician one time who showed up and forgot his entire pedal board at home. So we used the P1 and it worked great. And you can see how absolutely tiny these are. Pretty much the size of my hand. These are always in my guitar case. While I was editing this, Moore released the S1, which looks like this. I haven't gotten to try this one yet, but I did get to see it at NAMM 2024, and it is pretty cool, so I'll link to that one down below as well. Some really quick ones. This is an attenuator, so it's a way to turn down the signal by 20 decibels, 30 decibels, or 40 decibels. This thing's only like 30 bucks. Guitar players always have a capo on you. You can get cheap capos for like 10 to 20 bucks. And last but not least, this is portable phantom power by X5, the P1 that provides phantom power. It is battery powered, so it doesn't need any external power. I've used this multiple times. It works great. Of course, you're going to need a way to store all this gear. I'm going to show you the 2 that I use. So this is my main case that I have that I bring for in-ear monitors, wireless, stuff like that. I do have my iPad, and I also have an old iPhone 6 that I kept because it was the last one that had a headphone out, but I have my tracks on here as well. So we always have a backup just in case something goes wrong with my iPad. But this is where I have my normal stuff. I do have a power bank here because there's always someone with a dead phone or iPad when you get to a gig. But this case is really nice because I can customize it how I want it to with the foam. Underneath here, I have a backup XLR wireless system. If you can't tell, I'm pretty obsessed with wireless. I also have 2 of those F zones that I talked about, just in case if anyone needs extra in-ear monitors or if one of them dies. That portable NUX system, I always have that one with me here under the foam as well. I have quite a few cables, including the step-up, quite a few of the adapters as well. And then in this little case right here, this fits perfectly, and this has a bunch of different odds and ends, different cables. You can see the My Bolts ripcord, spare spare batteries, adapters, random stuff like that. Hopefully I never even have to open this, but every now and then I do. So that's kind of my main bag. If I'm not usually doing full sound in production, I'm like hired to play for somebody. I have everything in here, all the stuff I need, plus some backup stuff. Now, this is my bag when I do full production. There's two different bags that I like, and I'll link to them down below. I have my own bag for cables, and I have my own bag for power. This is just odds and ends, backup stuff, just in case something goes wrong. Guitar straps. I've had to use this more than once where someone left a guitar strap at home, including myself. All sorts of different cables in here. Backup strings, capo. These wireless clips, if you use wireless mics, always have a backup of these because regular clips won't fit your wireless mics. You can see I have that router that I mentioned earlier. Same with the attenuator. Same with that MyVolts mixer, multi-tool, and that passive 3XLR mixer. I do also have a couple of other cheap in-ear monitor backups. I haven't had to use these yet, but I've reviewed both of these on this channel. These are very cheap systems. I think the other ones are a little bit better, but these will also save you money. And again, it's backup stuff. So hopefully you only have to use them in a pinch. And backup earbuds, of course. Backup kazoo, because we play kazoos in one of my bands, and I also do a kazoo solo in another one of my bands, so can't forget that. I also have an extra power strip here. And last but not least, this might be too much information, but I guarantee at some point or at some gig, you and the drummer went and ate at that shady food truck down the street from the show because you were starving. It's always worth having something before you do that 4-hour show, not even just for you, but for your bandmates. It's worth it. And what better way to conclude this pretty long video about backup gear? So I hope that helped you guys out. Again, links to all of this gear that I talked about will be down below in the description. Let me know also if you guys have any gear recommendations of stuff that you have as a backup device, just in case. There is the Mackie mobile mix that I saw at NAMM 2024 this year. I'm really curious on that one, and I'll probably have that one always in my gear bag. And going forward, I think I'm actually going to bring my Mackie speaker that I just reviewed because that one has 6 different inputs on it. But the point is that you can't have a backup for everything. I mean, if you have 2 speakers, if one of them goes down, you can still use that. You can't have everything, but as long as you have enough gear to survive the show, that's what's important in my opinion. So it's always important to have some backup stuff, and hopefully this has helped you guys out. If you guys did find this video helpful, do me a favor and hit the thumbs up button and feed the YouTube algorithm gods. It truly does help support the channel. 2 other videos of mine to check out. Don't forget to check out that Mackie portable battery-powered speaker that I just reviewed. And if you are interested in a portable wireless in-ear monitor system, you can check out my video on the X5 system by checking out the links on your screen now. Thank you guys again for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at ScottYoleMusic. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you next time.